Well, hey everyone, this is Michael, and welcome to the LoveWorks Dreamers and Doers podcast, where we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer, and you are certainly never too old to get started working on your dream. We definitely know that there is not a shortage of great podcast options, so we want to thank you for tuning into ours, and we also want to remind you that there is an opportunity to subscribe to ours on YouTube and on your favorite streaming platforms such as SoundCloud, Apple iTunes, Spotify. You can find us there, and we'd absolutely love it. We would be thrilled if you wouldn't mind leaving us a star and a review. Could be a star, maybe up to a 5-star, Carolyn, and a review would be awesome.
Anywhere from 1 to 5, we're good with it as long as you leave one. Our hope with the Dreamers and Doers podcast is that each week our special guest is going to connect with you wherever you find yourself today, and they're going to inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
And we believe one of the best ways that you can become the best version of yourself is through having a plan for personal growth. Surprise, surprise. If you're new to the podcast, you're hearing that for the first time, we love to take just a couple of minutes and we like to talk about different ways that you can grow in your leadership journey. And so we'll curate different things like blogs, other podcasts to follow outside of ours. But if you are listening to ours, we'd love for you to subscribe to it. I'll move us on here. We love to curate different kinds of music, books, and today it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about a quote, just maybe one quote that Carolyn and I tuck away in our back pocket that might provide just the right amount of inspiration or encouragement on a particular day. So Carolyn, do you want to pull yours out?
Yeah. Out of my back pocket. So my quote, and this is a little bit inspired by our special guest today. This is actually a Fred Rogers quote. If you know me, I grew up loving Fred Rogers in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And he actually talks about a time when he was young and he was actually seeing the news and seeing tragedies that were happening. I think that's something that, we very frequently have seen in this last year. And his mom actually told him, look for the helpers. You'll always find people who are helping. And so while those times of tragedy are happening, and it can be really easy to get overwhelmed, to get disheartened, but to look for the helpers, to keep that hope alive. I think it's really comforting to hear for a young person who maybe doesn't feel like they can do anything. But I think the other side of it is then for someone who can do something is not just to look for the helpers, but also to become the helpers. I think is a huge part of this quote too.
That's great, Carolyn. So you'd like me now to follow Fred Rogers?
Oh, my bad. Michael, if there is anyone that has a back pocket of quotes, mantras, and just good leadership wisdom, it's you. So I know you got something.
Thanks for making my beating heart feel better today. So I'm going to pull mine out of my pocket, and this is one that has brought a lot of encouragement and a great reminder, especially I would say over the last 14 to 15 months. And this one actually is a quote that I heard when I was training a couple years ago for a triathlon race. And the quote was this. The quote is, not to let your highs get too high and never let your lows get too low. I could have used that in one of my first Ironman races. And those of you that aren't familiar with Ironman triathlon races, they're a combination of swimming, biking, and running. I still question why I do it, but anyhow, that's another story for another day. So I was near the middle of my swim portion of the race. Remember, I still had a bike and I still had a full marathon to run towards the end of the day. And I just remember during the swim, I started feeling good. And I felt energized and excited. And I thought, I'm just going to let it rip and I'm going to start swimming harder. And I started passing a few people and that felt great. And so I started swimming even faster. And Carolyn, I get out of the water and I'm practically breathless. And I lost sight. I lost sight of the big picture. I still had a full day ahead of me. And so again, that quote just reminds me that who knows, you may start out your day with hearing a great piece of news. Maybe that's meant personally to you or something you hear in the news, or maybe you hear something hard. But just don't ride that emotion too long. just kind of take it, at even keel and just keep staying, steady, because it's a long race. It's not a sprint, but it's more like a marathon. So those are a couple of Carolyn and I's quotes. Hey, if you happen to leave us a review on one of your favorite streaming platforms, we would love to hear what is one of your favorite quotes. Well, Dreamers and Doers, it is time. So let me remind you of our format. Each week we have the fortunate opportunity, it really is a fortunate opportunity, to sit down with a different dreamer and doer guest that takes some time to share with us at least one of their dream stories. And we don't stop there, but we love to hear what were some of those early initial steps that our dreamer and doer guests took to reach their goal and their big dream. And we really hope it's going to encourage you to get from wherever you are today to the place that you want to get to tomorrow. And so let's meet our dreamer and doer guest. Her name is Tevis Hillis.
Tevis is an Oklahoma native. She grew up in Lawton with her family, where she loved small town. Growing up, she always admired strong women with the voice of change, and this is how Tevis found her way into pageants, where she was Miss Lawton's Outstanding Teen 2015 and Miss Lawton 2019. As Tevis went on to college, she found herself diving deep into all aspects of the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication. She began her journey first as a reporter and then as an anchor for the OU Nightly. Later, she was the host of Sooner Sports Pad, the only nationally televised show on a college campus. Tevis worked on her reporting skills as one of her stories, Pain in the Neck, which won the television feature news story for the Oklahoma Broadcast Education Association. Then she won a Regional Mark of Excellence Award in the Society of Professional Journalists. Throughout her time in college, she's interned for her local TV station in Lawton, KSWO, which later led on to an on-air fellowship on the weekends. She made her way to Salt Lake City, Utah after that to intern for KSL, where she flew helicopters, worked with award-winning journalists, and saw the world outside of Oklahoma. The most important internship for Tevis was with News 9, and upon graduating college, Tevis never expected to start at her dream station, but dreams come true when you least expect them. Hi, Tevis.
Hello, I'm so excited. It's so weird hearing your own bio. You're like, oh gosh, that's me. It's like hearing yourself. You're like, stop it.
I'm thinking to myself, how much have you already done with your life? It's incredible.
We're just getting started. There's sometimes that I think that I'm like, oh, I don't have another dream ahead of me. I'm working now, and then I started working, and I was like, I don't have a dream. What is my next dream? So there's still so much to conquer in this world.
No, there absolutely is. Well, at the time of this recording, Tevis, it is the month of May in Oklahoma. In the back of my mind, I was just hoping that at the time of this recording, we're not going to have some kind of crazy weather event that's going to pull you away from this interview.
I think I can take on tornado season. I stood out in below freezing temperatures week after week. There was one day the anchors will toss to you. So they'll say, Tevis, how are you doing out there? And I just remember saying every time they were tossing to me, I say, hey, it's still cold outside. It's still below freezing, and I can't feel my cheeks. And I was like, that just encompasses the whole reporter thing. You're in the elements. You're constantly going, but no tornadoes. We can deal with it.
Absolutely. Well, you are a resilient one for sure. But no, really, thank you for joining us today.
Well, Tevis, you've kind of referenced it in dreaming, and it sounds like you're definitely doing right now. So I love getting to ask this question, starting off with this. We know you're both a dreamer and a doer, but which one do you feel like comes more naturally to you?
Well, you, of course, asked the hardest question right off the bat. I think, in a way, I called someone right before this, and I was like, I'm going to talk about dreams, and I guess I'm going to talk about doing, but what do I do? What do I do? And they're like, you're 50-50. So then I was thinking about my 7th grade year. And in 7th grade, I went to a student council trip. And during the student council trip, they had Sherry Cole, the OU women's basketball coach, come and talk to student council leaders across the state. And in that speech, she said, write down 3 dreams and conquer those 3 dreams. And I don't know what it was, what day it was, why it connected so deeply to me. But that day I wrote down my 3 dreams and I did them. So, I always wanted to be Miss America. I just thought that she encompassed a woman. She encompassed power, and you were drawn to Miss America. So I always wanted to be Miss America. And then I wanted to go off to the University of Oklahoma and really have a great time. And then I can't remember my third dream, but, you know, I worked towards each one of those. So I think you have to dream. You have to dream as big as possible. I dreamed about being Miss America. Not one in 50 girls every year gets that dream. And out of the thousands and 10,000 girls that try to be Miss America. So it's dreaming of those big dreams, but then finding yourself in those little dreams that are just as exciting.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, thank you, Sherry Cole.
Yeah, changed my life.
Wow, that's a big deal. And thanks for giving us that nugget. So students, grab your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, pen and paper, write down those 3 goals. That is a gold right there. Well, Tevis, if you wouldn't mind, can you rewind just a few years and can you paint a picture for us of the young dreamer and doer and what life was like growing up?
So I loved my childhood. I had such a great time. I always say, let's go back to the good old days because it's so simple. Your life is so simple. Talking to the high schoolers and middle schoolers right now, life is so easy and life is so good. So enjoy those moments because I would go back any day. But I vividly remember watching a girl from my hometown win Miss America. And that kind of set off my dream was she did something from a small town. I can go do something big. And throughout that's always followed me. You know, how can I best present myself? How can I best behave myself? And how best can I really live to that potential of being a confident young woman? So I found my dream within her. And then I grew up. I always dreamed about being Miss Lawton. I went off and won Miss Lawton's Outstanding Teen, but that was also after the long hours that you put into it, finding a talent, learning how to speak in public, and finding the passion you want to talk about every day. So that was kind of the kickstart. I went through middle school and high school, always having the same dream of being Miss America, going and do big things. But another kind of segment was I was constantly in journalism classes. So I was in yearbook in 8th grade, and then I did yearbook throughout high school. And I just loved it. I loved the people that I got to talk to every day. They were passionate people, but could have the greatest time. I think that's where I had the largest laughs and felt the most loved. Because in high school, you can feel lost in a way, but I always knew that I could call someone from my yearbook class and they would be it. So I think that's where it started, was great childhood, loved every second of it, enjoyed the simple moments, and never really compared to what I could be doing. I was just enjoying the time I had there.
Tevis, it's so good. If you don't mind, I want to park for just another moment in middle school. So I'm going to raise my hand for a second, and I'm going to say that a couple of years of middle school were some of the most challenging for me personally. We actually have a joke at LoveWorks. Whenever we speak in front of audiences, we'll congratulate them, and we call them survivors. And we say that because you survived middle school. And normally we get a few chuckles and a few laughs. And really we started our organization because we really do believe that middle school years can be challenging. And so I'm just curious, what do you think made the difference for you to have a different experience? And it sounds like you were on another pathway, and I think it's a pathway that I think could encourage our listeners today.
The weird thing, and it was weird, I never had social media growing up. In middle school and high school, I never had social media. So I think that helped the path I was living. I never was able to, get on Instagram and see, girls having fun without me. I kind of had that taken out of my mind. So my suggestion is survive middle school, survive high school, get off social media. Enjoy the people around you. Enjoy talking face-to-face in class. I know that's been difficult with the pandemic, but enjoy those small moments, because I think that's what I held on to instead of looking at the bigger picture and things that I possibly missed out because I wasn't posting the social media posts.
Tevis, I'm probably going to replay this clip for my students like a million different times. So just get ready for that. No, it's so good. It's so true though. There's so many different things. And if we're not able to process that and comprehend that, it can really throw us off our track. Yeah. Tevis, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, you talked about finding your passion and finding that thing that you just want to talk about, and even that talent. And I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons from competing in pageants and things like that. But can you tell us more about what is the process for you to actually find that passion and find something that you really wanted to talk about and champion?
So my platform, every girl has a different platform, and that's something you really promote your year as Miss Lawton. My mom has epilepsy, so I always found it interesting that kids never knew what to do when someone was having a seizure. I had my brother's teacher. He was, I believe, in third grade. His teacher had a seizure in front of him, and he was the only kid out of the entire class to know what to do. And then I was in seventh grade in English class, and my teacher was sitting in the back of the class and had a seizure in front of all of us. And of course, I stood up and I was like, class, this is what we got to do. So I noticed that, 1 in 10 people have epilepsy. It's such something that's not talked about, something that you don't know what to do. So I think that was my passion was, hey, my mom could have a seizure in public. I want you to know what to do. That's kind of what I championed. And I still hold that near and dear to my heart. If someone has a seizure, I want people to know the 3 C's: clear the room, call 911, but remain calm. So that's what I got to talk about. And I really appreciate the time I had in pageants. I say that's the only reason I got the job I did today. There was a man named Jerry Hickenbottom, and he was known for creating Miss Americas. And I did my first pageant, and he came to me afterwards, and he was like, hey, I'd love to help you. Not knowing who this man was, not knowing the things that he could teach me. And I said, great, I need the help because, I don't know what I'm doing. And instead of really teaching me how to be a pageant woman, he taught me what to do, how to present myself in public and how to talk in public. But also there was moments that he would just comfort not only me, but my entire family. There was one moment that stood out to me. I was always supposed to go to OU. My entire family went to OU. And I'm in a weird way, I'm a quiet person, but I also, once you know me a couple times, I love talking. I'll talk the entire day. And he sits me down and we're talking about where I'm going to go to college. And I said, I'm going to OU. I'm not going anywhere else. And he looks at me in the eyes and he says, you don't have to go to OU. There's no expectation for you to go to a certain place. If you feel comfortable going somewhere else, go somewhere else, and you at least have me to back you up. So that, those moments, I got not only to learn how to be the person I am today, but I also had that support system.
Wow, that's huge. Thank you for just giving us a glimpse into, the why behind it and how it's, of course, even shaped who you are today. I know you just mentioned a little bit about, you ended up, of course, at OU. you went to the School of Journalism, and you shared a little bit about how you were, in school, you're going through journalism classes. What made it clear to you, like, this is the path, this is what I want to do for sure?
Freshman year is unlike any year. You are thrown into a dorm room with no one you know. You're thrown into an environment. I was from Lawton. I didn't know anyone. I had one other kid from Lawton come with me. I was scared. I felt alone. I felt that my voice wasn't heard. And I started off in business. So we're in business school. We're trying the hardest we can with calculus and econ, everything. And I just didn't have that outlet. I didn't have the group of people that were inspiring, that were all working towards the same goal. So I felt off. And then I went home for winter break, and my grandmother says, this is the reason I chose journalism. But there's a few other reasons. She sat me down and she said, you obviously don't like business. You're just not a businesswoman. I agree. She said, why don't you try journalism? And then, I guess that clicked, but I also can remember all the women I looked up to that were in journalism. I had women from KSWO, the local station in Lawton. And then I also had that woman that was Miss America in 2007 that was also a broadcaster. So I had women I looked up to, and that's kind of where it clicked. It was also supposed to happen that way.
Tevis, for students that are leaning in, thinking, hey, that's me, that could be me, what would you encourage a middle school to high school student to begin thinking about, or even to begin doing, if that's a field that they might be even interested in?
I read a book by Ginger Z, and I know we're in middle school and high school, we don't want to read a book, but that book by Ginger Z, she's the weather woman on Good Morning America, that also changed my trajectory. She said that she failed, 18 times in journalism. She went to small station after small station after small station until she got the call to go to Good Morning America. So read that book. That's my first one. But also find those little things that you can do. Call News 9. We have internships, and you can come and shadow one of us. Right now, not because of the pandemic, but shadow someone that you look up to, call someone, reach out on Facebook. I know Newsign's always checking the Facebook. If you can shadow someone or talk to someone, I would love to talk to you if you have that dream of being a journalist. I think it'd be great to mentor someone coming up.
Tevis, that's so good. You're giving us a playbook here.
Yeah.
Really, like this is gold. The stuff that at that age that I would have loved to have been exposed to. So thank you for sharing that. Tevis, we're going to begin to make a transition here. Thanks for taking us back and talking to us about some of the early dreams. And we're going to get into what you're doing today. But first, we have an audio question from one of our students. Her name is Sherion, and she has a pretty big dream herself. So let's listen to this question.
Hi, my name is Sharon and I'm 9 years old. My dream is to be the first Asian American woman president of the United States of America. I like how you are a journalist. My question for you is, how do you find your news stories?
Now I have to follow that. I have to follow that I'm a journalist next to the next president. No, I'm kidding. That's great. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. I'll vote for you one day,
I had to follow Fred Rogers earlier, so I guess
I was like, oh gosh, yikes. But how I find my news stories, so it's a bunch of everything. So it's a bunch of, I do have social media now, so it's a bunch of looking at people's personal stories, finding those personal stories on Facebook, but also talking to people. When I'm a little reserved, but when I start talking to people, I find those relationships that I can build, and the conversations that I can hold, and the stories that people have that just need to come out. So it's through finding on Facebook, but talking to people always, and it's also about watching national news a lot. So it's a little bit of everything. Some days you go in there and you're like, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I need some help. And I love my company because they'll sit you down and they'll say, okay, let's all get in this together. We're all going to find a story together.
Oh, that's so cool. I like getting a little like behind the scenes. I always wonder, it's like, do they have like a special like alert setup? Like, is there a red phone that they pick up?
I think that sometimes because they know we're on it.
I dig that. Well, Tevis, I know you've apparently have flown helicopters while you're out reporting, and I know you've got plenty of stories, I'm sure. But I wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you faced in your line of work?
Journalism is such in a weird spot right now. I think we're very fortunate to live in Oklahoma, and I love that local news is still so important. But there's so many people that are emailing in and saying, fake news. And there's people right now, we see it because of the pandemic, people not believing the news. So I think that's what's challenging is, I do this job and I do it with a passion every day, but there's still some of my friends that don't believe in the job that I'm trying to pursue. So that it's difficult to have a smile on your face, to care about the stories you're telling when some people just don't believe in the stories you're telling.
That's true. How do you face that even in your own personal life? Because I feel like our students, like, and in anyone's field, like that's something that they kind of have to navigate.
Sometimes you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to say, okay, I got to keep going because this is my true passion. This is my true dream. So take it with a grain of salt, let it roll off your back, and just keep moving forward.
That's good advice.
It's so good. That's powerful. I mean, you said the couple powerful words, some friends, who still don't understand, but you continue, moving forward. Tevis, if you don't mind, I'm just going to just park there for a second. You use the words like true passion. Is there a way that you could kind of describe maybe what that is, or even what that feels like? Maybe something that you could give a handle to one of our students that are listening, can say, wow, I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I want to do, but this is a way to maybe know if it's a passion or not.
It's something you look forward to every single day. In high school, I looked forward to going to 7th hour and going to yearbook class. And in college, I looked forward to going to OU nightly every day at 2:00. I looked forward to that. There's other things. Come on, we all dread the homework. We all dread, doing math. But it's the things that you look forward to, the things that you say, I can't wait to go to sleep and wake up the next day and do it. And there's days that I call my friends and I'm like, man, I had a great live shot. I can't wait to do this tomorrow. I called one of my friends last week and I was like, for the times that I say this job is stressful and this job takes a lot out of me, today was the day I felt so confident in what I was doing. I felt so good about the story I was telling. So it's finding that thing that you're just like, I have to keep doing. I have to keep going. And it doesn't have to be journalism. It can be anything. If you desire to be an accountant and work with numbers all day and you look forward to that, then go for it.
That was so good.
So good. Carolyn, we tucked away a couple quotes out of our pockets. I think I'm just going to tuck away this interview out of my phone and let this conversation encourage me and inspire me. Tevis, so good. I've been eager to get to this particular question that we ask each of our dreamer guests. And it's because early on you mentioned that you wrote down 3 dreams and that you conquered all 3 of those dreams. And so I'm curious today, is there a dream right now that you're currently working on?
Oh, okay. Well, again, I told you all earlier, there was a point after getting my job, I was like, I don't know what I want to do next. And my boss called me one day and he said, hey, we're starting a new show. It's the News 9 at 9 a.m. And I was like, okay, what is that? What does that mean? And he said, it's going to be an hour-long, more of a lifestyle, more of just a community show, something that we can sit down and hang out and talk about. And he was like, do you want to be the first reporter on it? And I said, I don't know. That's a big step. You're giving it to the wrong person. Turn around. But I said, sure, I'll do it. We'll try it out. And I have fallen in love with being the 9 a.m. reporter. I get to do not only breaking news, but I get to tell stories that are just really something good. So this past week, I got to sit down with students every day and really highlight the great things students were doing in the pandemic. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk about that every day? Just, you get to smile, you get to go home and have a great time. And today I went and talked about a dog park opening, a dog park where you can sit and eat. I was like, this is the dream. This is the best. So my dream right now is just to keep growing in that 9 a.m. show and try to be a different aspect in it that as many different aspects as I can get from that 9 a.m. show, because I'm learning from the best and I feel like that's just going to help me in the long run. So dreaming of continuing in the 9 a.m.
Well, Tevis, I don't think your producer went with the wrong person. That is for sure. Just from the exuberance and, of course, the passion that you offer and the warmth. And so I love getting to ask this question because I know it's not that long ago, but we talk about surviving middle school. And if you survive something, you probably have some advice for that time. And so if you could go back to your middle school self or your high school self, what's a piece of advice that you would want to share with them?
I would tell myself, don't compare. Who cares about what so-and-so's doing? Enjoy the small moments. This was my personal favorite. And I look back and I'm like, I wish I could go back and truly enjoy that day. I look back and seeing Friday and Saturday nights being spent watching TV with my family. And if I could just tell myself, hey, that's cool. You get to hang out with your mom, you get to hang out with your dad, and you're not getting in any trouble. You're going to be safe and sound. So if I could tell my middle school self or high school self, enjoy those moments of just relaxing, hanging out, and don't worry about what others have to say or think.
That is some great advice and counsel, Tevis. Well, to wrap up our interview, we want to ask you one more question. And it's really a chance to be able to give you, Tevis, 60 seconds to be able to share whatever is on your heart, to be able to encourage either the dreamer out there is listening, the doer, or like you said earlier, you described yourself as both. But if you're ready, the 60 seconds is yours.
Oh, goodness. I feel like I'm getting the countdown in my headphone right now. Hey, you got 60 seconds. Wrap it up. Oh, my gosh. And we have a minute timer. Oh, my gosh. Okay, here I go.
I'm moving, though. Don't worry.
I would tell those high school and middle schoolers, write down those 3 dreams. That's what changed my life. I wrote down the 3 dreams, and I constantly work just towards 3 simple dreams. It doesn't have to be go to Yale. Try something small, go to college. That's all you got to start with. So write those 3 dreams down, start working towards them. If that's, going to your teacher and asking for help on a homework project, or just simply bettering yourself. One day you'll get there. One day you'll conquer those 3 dreams, and they might not be the 3 dreams you started with, but you know, at the end of the day, you still conquered a dream.
Boom. Tevis, that was awesome. Thank you so much for imparting just some great and kind words and just some good knowledge and something so practical. Write down those 3 dreams. I'm like envisioning right now a 7th grade student in, 10 years who can link back and say, there was this one day that Tevis Hillis came and talked to me.
He's very cold, but hopefully one day Tevis Hillis might need. No,
yes. No, I believe it. I see it. I totally think so. So, Tevis, thank you so much for your time and sharing this. There's so much good to unpack from this interview, and I'm just excited to share it with our students.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun. I'm anytime I can help with middle school or high school students, I always want to be involved because I know they have such a great future ahead of them.
Tevis, you are the best. We're going to, of course, unpack this interview in our show notes, but we also, though, want to make sure that our listeners know where they can best find you. So where can we go to find Tevis?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. What else do you can find me on Twitter. I would say stay clear of the TikToks because I don't make TikToks as often as I really should. So find them all, Tevis Hillis. Sometimes it might say Tevis Hillis TV, but you can find me. Blonde hair, weird profile picture, but it'll be me.
Love it. And with summer vacation just right around the corner, can we find you at 9 a.m. either on Facebook or on TV?
You will find me at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. We'll be having some fun on the 9 a.m. show, and hopefully it's not too much breaking serious news.
That is amazing. Tevis, it has been an absolute delight. Thank you for making us better today.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
We'll see you. Carolyn, who needs caffeinated drinks when you have Tevis Hillis on the show?
I'm literally buzzing right now.
Listen, this is so good. From the 3 dreams, right? To get off social, and she drops 3 C's.
Oh, that is a very practical advice. I didn't know that beforehand. I feel like I've already been educated on this.
We need to add in part 2, so I know we'll get her back on at another time, but we'll need to add even first responder to her bio.
Oh, yes. Helicopter pilot, first responder. Amazing. Wow.
No, that was cool. A game-changing 30 minutes.
I really believe so. So I'm serious. I'm really excited to unpack this. It's so refreshing to hear a young person who's willing to say these things and to recognize these things that really do sometimes stumble us, like things like social media or comparison. And so it's really cool. It's really refreshing to hear.
Well, friends that are listening, we hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. If you're interested in learning more about LoveWorks, our programming, our upcoming events, all of our digital platforms, blogs, and podcasts, and all that great stuff, you can check us out simply at loveworksleadership.org.
And remember, real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big.
And do your dream.
Bye, everybody.